Hi, my name's Chris, and today I'm going to give you a video lesson on how to make deer jerky. First, we need to define what deer jerky is, or what any form of jerky is for that matter. Jerky is a form of dehydrated meat where all the moisture has been pulled out. But first, before you dehydrate the meat, you need to make a brine or a marinade for that. Alright, first I'm going to go over what all you need in order to do this. First, you need the meat, of course, and you need to have a fillet knife, something that's razor sharp. You don't want a dull knife to do this. Then you're going to need Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce, salt, pepper, paprika, onion powder, and garlic salt. Also, you're going to need these. It'll make it easy for you. These are skewers that you're going to use to hang the meat in the oven. You're also going to need a measuring cup and a tablespoon. You're going to need tin foil, mason jars, quart-size bags, and nitrile gloves. Now that you've got all your supplies, the first step in the process that we're going to go through is cutting the meat. Now, there's several different ways that you can cut your meat, and some people swear by one way, other people swear by others. I prefer to cut against the grain. That way it's a little bit more tender when it's done, and if you cut along the grain, then it's going to be a little more chewy. Now in this video lesson I will show you how to do both, so you can figure out what your preference would be. First thing I'm going to do is put some gloves on. You always want to stay sanitary. Alright, so we'll take our meat and determine which way the grain runs. And you see on this piece of meat that the grain runs this way. So you can either do it against the grain or with it. So what we want to do, you can get a closer look and see how the grain's running that piece of meat. So what I prefer to do is cut across the entire section of meat and have a piece of jerky that's shaped like that. And what you want to do is you want to take your knife and you want to cut about a 1/4 inch thick section and try not to tear the meat. So then you'll have pieces of jerky that'll look like that. Now since you have all your meat sliced up, the first thing I like to do is go ahead and bag all the meat. And set that to the side. Next, we're going to make our marinade. Alright. First thing you do is get your measuring cup and start mixing the marinade. You want to do about a 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Alright. Then you want to do an equal amount soy sauce. Then you want to take your tablespoon for the seasonings. And you want to do about a tablespoon of salt. About a half a tablespoon of pepper. You can adjust that to your liking. The more pepper you put in there, the spicier it'll be. And you'll do about a tablespoon of paprika. Garlic salt, I like to do about a quarter of a tablespoon. And onion powder, approximately a quarter of a tablespoon as well. And you want to take that and pour that marinade mixture into your bag. Run a little bit of water into your measuring cup. Get the rest of the seasoning. And you'll take and close your bag with a little bit of air in it so the contents can move around. And you want to shake it up a little bit. Make sure not to. Now that you got the hard part out of the way and all the messy work's done, you want to take this bag with the meat in it and set it down flat in the refrigerator for a minimum of 4 hours. But preferably, you want to leave it in overnight. Now that the meat's marinated, either 4 hours or overnight, whichever you prefer, whichever you have time to do. I'm going to walk you through the next step, which would be pat drying the jerky and then putting it on the skewer to get ready for the oven. Now at this point you want to go ahead and preheat your oven to 175 degrees while you're doing this, so the oven's preheating, so it's ready to go as soon as you get done with this step. Alright, now that I'm gloved up and ready to go, we will start to dry this jerky. What you want to do is lay a paper towel out and start to lay your meat flat. This is an important part of the process to where you take some of the moisture off so it's not taking too long to dehydrate. You can lay it out however you want to, as long as you get it all on the paper towel. And if you have to go 2 or 3 rounds with this, depending on how much meat you have, that's fine too. So we still got a little bit more, so we'll stop right there. Alright, what I'm going to do is take and blot and press on these to absorb that moisture. See if we can pull as much out as we can. Now that the meat has absorbed the marinade, it's not important to have it coating the outside of the meat. The meat's gonna have the flavor of your marinade. Alright. Now you want to take a skewer, and I measured mine with the grate in my oven, and I can fit 7 pieces on there at about 1.5 inches apart from one another. So what you want to do is you want to take the sharp end of your skewer, and you want to very carefully put it in the top piece of the meat, and then run it that far down. And then you want to do that until you have how many ever pieces of meat can fit on one skewer per your oven grate. Now I like to hang these pieces of meat with about the same size. So if you've cut them 2 different ways and you have the long strips and the wider little heart-shaped pieces, then you want to try to hang the light cuts with the light cuts. Alright, now that we've got that done, next thing we'll do is we'll get ready to put it in the oven. Alright, now we've got the oven preheated to 75. We've got our jerky all put on the skewers. What I like to do is take a cookie sheet like this, and coat it with a layer of foil, heat on the bottom rack to act as a drippings pan, so it doesn't drip all down all over the rest of the oven. Alright, now we'll put the meat in the oven. Now that we're ready, we want to position the rack in the very top of the oven and the other rack in the lower part. And we want to put our drippings pan in one section. Then you can pull the oven rack out to aid you a little bit in putting the skewers into the oven. Now you might have to work with this a little bit to find out exactly how you need to position the meat on there. Once you do that, then you can put the meat down like so. Alright. Alright, now you want to push that back in very gently. And then make sure that your pan for your drippings are aligned right up underneath. Put on a timer for 4 hours. Alright, now that our jerky's been in the oven for 4 hours, we've removed it. And you want to check the texture to make sure it's not too dried out. And how you do that is just by bending it. And if it bends and then breaks, it's a little too dry. That's a small piece. So you want to take a thicker piece and just bend it, and it should hold fairly well. And after you do that, you can remove it from the skewers. to store it in your mason jar. This will keep it fresh for a couple of weeks. That's my tutorial on how to make deer jerky.